So I want to kind of end it off by talking about the future and I guess just your outlook for 2023. I know we talked about like the short term and like right now, but I guess for like the rest of the year, your plans in terms of trading and things to look out for.
Yeah, so this move specifically kind of throws a lot off for me as far as like what to look for. I think mostly I'm just still looking for what I looked for prior to this year even starting is just mostly just sideways. I'm not expecting like continued bear market, but I'm also not expecting like new all-time highs this year. So maybe like a very very wide macro kind of range, and then we see what happens from there. But honestly, on a longer outlook, right, I'm not really so worried about what happens this year because as far as this year goes, I really just need to focus on whatever's happening now. And so throughout the remainder of this year, I will always just be focusing on whatever happens now. So, like prior to this rally up into 25K, a month ago, not this most recent one, but prior to that, when we're at 18K or whatever, and I'm seeing signs of strength, and the echo bubble narrative is hot, and there's people calling for a bull market again, blah blah blah. I put out a thread that said maybe somewhere around 38 to 42K is where this stops. But then the trend breaks at 23K, and I'm like, dude, I don't care about what I said 2 months ago. Let me get off, like, let me realize these gains. So,
Yeah.
I will always, pay more attention to whatever is happening at that moment. I'm not so heavily tied to, whatever calls that I have because, again, that's what happened in March of 2020, where I'm like, all right, sell 10.5, buy back 8K, and then from 8K, all time highs. And then when that didn't happen, I didn't have a plan. And there was no backup plan. There was no backup plan to my backup plan. There was nothing. So it was just, I was paralyzed and I just sat there and watched as everything crashed and just did not play out to what I thought would happen. And all of that stemmed because of the year leading up into that. I had called everything beautifully, right? I had pretended to be like this amazing forecaster, and I convinced myself that I was. And obviously, I was just getting lucky. So um, I'll always put a priority on whatever happens now. For this year, I'm not really so worried about it. But on a longer term outlook, my biggest bullish argument, and I am inherently a bull both on life and markets. My biggest bullish argument honestly has nothing to do with fundamentals. I know enough about BTC to be able to speak to it. I could explain it to a 5 year old if I really, really needed to. But even that, I would disregard it entirely and just give the pure argument that people are greedy. And as long as human greed exists, there will always be a bull market somewhere. And I think that crypto specifically has such a drastic kind of ability to move exponentially based off of that thesis alone, based off of human greed. And I think we saw it to a very high extent during 2020 and 2021, where, I was working at a hospital at the time and I would be walking down the floors dropping off medication. And I was hearing people talk about, I would hear nurses talk about Elon Moon and Shiba. And it's like, that is absolutely human greed, right? These people have absolutely no idea what those things are, but it's just that greed that sits in the back of their mind, and it plagues every human being. And as long as that is the case, I think that there will inevitably be a bull market again, and therefore it is in my best interest personally to stay involved with this space so that I ensure when that trend starts trending, I have ridden it. I'm on that wave. I'm riding it, and other people are trying to come on, and they might very well, uh, you know, manage to make it onto the wave and start surfing it next to me, even though it's in the middle of its wake. But by the time that it crashes, those people are going to say, "Well, I didn't really make the most out of that. I didn't, I didn't really get much out of that. I might as well just have waited for the next wave." And I'm going to say, "Wow, that was a lot of fun." So human greed is the essence of my bullish argument. That is the foundation,
Nice.
and yeah, and then fundamentals after that.
I agree. And I mean, now that you say it like that, it makes a lot more sense too.